Today we're looking at problem solving and data analysis questions for practice test 5. These are all from the math calculator section. Number 1. According to the line graph, between which two consecutive years was there the greatest change in the number of 3D movies released? So the number of 3D movies released is on the y-axis, and if we look at the different dates, 2003 to 2004 has almost no change. 2008 to 2009 goes up some. 2009 to 2010 has a bit of an increase, but the largest increase is here between 2010 and 2011. Number 3. To make a bakery's signature chocolate muffins, a baker needs 2.5 ounces of chocolate for each muffin. How many pounds of chocolate are needed to make 48 signature chocolate muffins? So if we want 48 muffins, and we need 2.5 ounces for each, if we multiply this, we get 120 ounces total of chocolate. Then we divide by 16, because there are 16 ounces per pound, and we get our answer, 7.5. Number 7. The Downtown Business Association, DBA, in a certain city plans to increase its membership by a total of N businesses per year. So N per year is kind of like a slope for linear growth. There were B businesses at the beginning of this year. B here is our starting value. Which function best models the total number of businesses Y the DBA plans to have as members X years from now? So this is a linear model, Y equals mx plus b, and M we're going to replace with N, because that's our businesses per year, and B remains the same, nx plus b. A is the best choice. Number 9. In the 1908 Olympic Games, the Olympic marathon was lengthened from 40 kilometers to approximately 42 kilometers. Of the following, which is closest to the increase in the distance of the Olympic marathon in miles? So if we take 42 kilometers and we subtract 40, the difference is 2 kilometers. To convert this, we can multiply by the factor that there is 1 mile per 1.6 kilometers. So this is 2 divided by 1.6. 1.25. Number 14. In a survey, 607 general surgeons and orthopedic surgeons indicated their major professional activity. The results are summarized in the table above. If one of the surgeons is selected at random, which of the following is closest to the probability that the selected surgeon is an orthopedic surgeon whose indicated professional activity is research? So there are 607 possible surgeons of each type and major professional activity. We're only looking at those in orthopedics who do research. So we follow orthopedic over and research down, and 74 is our numerator. If we divide these values, we end up with A, 0.122. Number 15. A polling agency recently surveyed 1,000 adults who were selected at random from a large city and asked each of the adults, "Are you satisfied with the quality of air in the city?" Of those surveyed, 78% responded that they were satisfied with the quality of air in the city. Based on the results of the survey, which of the following statements must be true? So the problem with all three of these statements is that when you take a sample of 1,000 adults and then you try to extrapolate those findings to a larger population, it's not guaranteed. We can predict that about 78% of a larger population would feel the same way, but we don't know for sure. So statement number 1 is not true. We don't know for sure that 78% are satisfied. We can predict about 78%. Statement number 2, if we chose another 1,000 adults, we might have a slightly different answer. It's not guaranteed to be 78% again. And finally, definitely from a different city, that 78% has absolutely no relevance. That's why A, none, was the best answer. Number 16. According to the information in the table, what is the approximate age of an American elm tree with a diameter of 12 inches? The formula we use is diameter multiplied by growth factor is equal to age. So for an American elm tree, in the table we see the growth factor is 4. We start with a diameter of 12, and we plug in these two answers to get 12 times 4 is equal to 48. And that's why D is the best choice. For 17. The scatter plot above gives the tree diameter plotted against age for 26 trees of a single species. The growth factor of this species is closest to that of which of the following species of trees? So if I draw a line of best fit here, approximating the pattern here for the scatter plot, which will take into consideration the ones above and below, I can identify a specific point on this line and try to figure out, given the formula diameter times growth factor is equal to age, I can look at the diameter 10 multiplied by something is equal to the age 70. So 10 times what is 70? Well, it's about 7. The closest one in this table to 7 is shagbark hickory. That's why D is the best answer. Number 18. If a white birch tree and a pin oak tree each now have a diameter of 1 foot, which of the following will be closest to the difference in inches of their diameters 10 years from now? We go back to our formula, diameter times growth factor is equal to age. And we know that the diameter is 1 foot, but we know the growth factor and the age matter more for calculating the diameter in the future. So for example, for white birch, our growth factor is 5. So we take 5 times the diameter, which we don't know, and that equals the age, 10. So if we divide both by 5, we get D is equal to 2. We'll put that over here. This is for the white birch. Next up is for the pin oak. So 3D is equal to 10. If I divide both by 3, I get D is equal to 3.3 repeating. So 3.3 repeating is the pin oak. What's the difference between these two numbers? C, 1.3. Number 20. The figure on the left above shows a wheel with a mark on its rim. The wheel is rolling in the ground at a constant rate along a level straight path from a starting point to an ending point. The graph of y is equal to d of t on the right could represent which of the following is a function of time from when the wheel began to roll. The speed at which the wheel is rolling would not increase and decrease in such a pattern. That doesn't make much sense. The distance from the starting point would only increase unless it's going back and forth, but it says it's rolling at a constant rate, starting from a starting point to an ending point. So B is not correct. That leaves C or D. Would the distance of the mark from the center ever change? No. Even if you spin it, it's always going to be equal to the radius. D is the best choice. It starts off at the top, the highest height possible, and as it rolls, the mark is now on the bottom, and then as it rolls, it goes back to the top, and so on and so forth, repeating. For 22. In State X, Mr. Camp's 8th grade class, consisting of 26 students, was surveyed, and 34.6% of the students reported they had at least 2 siblings. The average 8th grade class size in the state is 26. If the students in Mr. Camp's class are representative of students in the state's 8th grade classes, and there are 1,800 8th grade classes in the state, which of the following best estimates the number of 8th grade students in the state who have fewer than 2 siblings? So the percentage given is at least. So to figure out the percentage for fewer than 2, we take 100 minus 34.6. So this tells us that 65.4% of the students have fewer than 2 siblings. If we multiply this by 1,800 classes, we get our answer. C, 30,600. 27. The mean score of 8 players in a basketball game was 14.5 points. To figure out the total number of points, we can take 8 multiplied by 14.5, and this tells us all 8 players scored a total of 116 points. Now we know that 7 of the players averaged 12, so those 7 scored 84. To figure out how many points the remaining player scored, I subtract the 2. So I take 116 minus 84. And I get 32. That's why C is the best answer. For 31, horsepower and watts are units of measure of power. They are directly proportional such that 5 horsepower is equal to 3,730 watts. How much power in watts is equal to 2 horsepower? So I can set these up as a proportion, cross multiply and divide. So if I take 3,730 times 2 divided by 5, X is 1,492. 32. The painting The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh is rectangular in shape with height 29 inches and width 36.25 inches. If a reproduction was made where each dimension is 1/3 the corresponding original dimension, what is the height of the reproduction in inches? Given the height of 29 inches, we multiply this by 1/3, which is the same thing as dividing by 3. 29 divided by 3 is our final answer. We can leave it as a fraction. 37. One morning, Miss Simon drove directly from her home to her workplace in 24 minutes. What was her average speed in miles per hour during her drive that morning? The key idea here is we're going to look at her total distance traveled divided by the time, and then we'll have to convert from minutes to hours. If I add together the 0.6 plus 15.4 plus 1.4 from this column, I have 17.4 miles. And I know that I travel this in 24 minutes. But to convert from minutes to hours, I'm going to multiply by 60 minutes per 1 hour. If I take 17.4 times 60 and divide by 24, I end up with 43.5. I would have also accepted 43 or 44 because the problem didn't tell you how to round. 38. If Miss Simon starts her drive at 6:30 a.m., she can drive at her average driving speed with no traffic delay for each segment of the drive. If she starts her drive at 7 a.m., the travel time from the freeway entrance to the freeway exit increases by 33% due to slower traffic, but the travel time for each of the other two segments of her drive does not change. Based on the table, how many more minutes does Miss Simon take to arrive at her workplace if she starts her drive at 7 a.m. than if she starts her drive at 6:30 a.m.? Since the only difference is on the freeway traffic, we're going to take those 15.4 miles and use that. So we have 15.4 miles divided by this 50 miles per hour, which tells us that we have 0.308 hours on the freeway. If we want to convert this to minutes, it ends up being 18.48 minutes. 33% of this, or dividing it by about 3, gives us an answer of 6.